She didn't lose interest overnight. She lost it the first time she realized you were there, but not truly present. And if you've ever been replaced by someone who seems less impressive than you, it wasn't about looks. It was about a private desire you never touched. Here's what nobody tells you about women's hidden fantasies. The most powerful ones aren't graphic. They're psychological. They live in the gap between what she's socially allowed to admit and what her nervous system secretly responds to. A woman can say she wants kindness, honesty, stability, communication, and she's not lying, but those are the words people use when they're trying to sound reasonable. Deep desire doesn't always speak in reasonable language. It speaks in feelings, certainty, safety, intensity, relief, surrender, being seen. And most women won't say the real version out loud because the moment they do, the wrong person weaponizes it. They either judge her, mock her, or try to force it without earning it. So she learns to keep it vague. She'll call it chemistry. She'll say, I don't know, something's missing. She'll say, the spark is gone. And men hear that and think it's random. It's not random. It's pattern-based. The first shocking fantasy many women carry is this. She fantasizes about being chosen with unmistakable certainty, not chased like a trophy, not hunted like a game, not suffocated by attention, chosen, cleanly, calmly, confidently, the kind of certainty that makes her stop overthinking because she doesn't have to decode you, the kind of certainty that makes her feel safe without feeling trapped. This is where a lot of men get it wrong. They think certainty means pressure. They think it means being intense, possessive, or pushy. That's not certainty. That's insecurity pretending to be confidence. Real certainty is steady. It doesn't demand. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't punish. It simply stands in truth. And that hits a part of female psychology that's deeper than what she likes. It hits what her body trusts. Because women live with a constant low-level awareness that men often don't have to carry. Attention can be flattering, but it can also be unpredictable. Compliments can be sweet, but they can also come with expectations. Interest can feel exciting, but it can also turn cold without explanation. Many women learn early that inconsistency is not just annoying, it can be emotionally costly. So when a man is vague, hot and cold, half available, half invested, it doesn't just confuse her. It activates the part of her that starts scanning for danger. She starts wondering what changed. She starts rereading messages. She starts trying to earn the version of you that was warm at the beginning. She starts bargaining with herself. Maybe she's asking too much. Maybe she should be chill. Maybe she should lower expectations. That's not romance. That's stress. And stress can imitate excitement for a while, until it turns into emotional exhaustion. This is why the fantasy becomes so intense. The desire to finally experience a man who is clear enough to quiet the noise. Clear in his intentions, clear in his standards, clear in his interest, clear in his boundaries, clear in his self-respect. Notice what I didn't say, clear in his control. Clear men don't control you, they control themselves. A lot of men think being a good guy means never causing tension, never being direct, never risking disapproval, so they become polite to the point of being invisible. They avoid clarity because clarity can be rejected. They keep it casual because casual gives them an escape if it doesn't work out. They keep their feelings soft because softness feels safer than commitment. But women don't crave softness from a man who's afraid. They crave strength that's gentle. And you can feel the difference instantly. A man who's afraid will talk in maybes. He'll imply instead of express. He'll circle instead of lead. He'll give attention as a test, then take it away as a punishment. He'll act interested, then disappear to see if she cares. He'll call it strategy, but her nervous system reads it as instability. A man with certainty doesn't do that. He doesn't need games to feel powerful. He can say, with calm eyes and a steady voice, I like you. I want to take you out. If you're not interested, I'll respect it, but I'm not going to pretend I don't feel what I feel. That sentence, when it's real, creates something rare, emotional safety with an edge of confidence. It tells her she's not dealing with a performer. She's dealing with a person. Now let's talk about the part women almost never admit because it sounds harsh. Certainty is attractive partly because it filters out weak intention. When a man is vague, a woman can't tell if he's genuinely cautious or if he's opportunistic. She can't tell if he values her or if he's simply keeping her around as an option. She can't tell if he's emotionally mature or emotionally unavailable. Certainty removes that fog. and fog is where people get hurt. So a woman's hidden fantasy becomes this quiet inner scene, being with someone who doesn't make her audition for seriousness, someone who doesn't make her compete with his distractions, someone who doesn't make her feel foolish for wanting clarity. And here's the twist. This fantasy is not just about the man. It's also about what it allows her to become. Because when she feels chosen in a steady, grounded way, she stops performing. She stops calculating every word. She stops pretending she's fine with crumbs. She becomes softer without feeling weak, warmer without feeling stupid, more open without feeling exposed. That's why women don't just fall for attention. They fall for the emotional environment a man creates. If you create an environment where she has to guess, she becomes guarded. If you create an environment where she feels chosen, she becomes magnetic. And for the women watching, this fantasy is also a mirror. If you keep choosing men who are unclear, inconsistent, or emotionally evasive, ask yourself what part of you is addicted to proving your worth. Because sometimes uncertainty feels familiar. Sometimes clarity feels scary. Sometimes being chosen forces you to face something you've been avoiding, that you can't hide behind confusion anymore. So this first hidden desire isn't dirty or shallow, it's primal. It's about nervous system regulation. It's about trust. It's about relief. It's about finally being with someone whose presence says, "You don't have to guess with me." And if you've never been taught how to offer that kind of certainty, without becoming controlling, without becoming needy, without becoming performative, you've been playing the game with half the rules missing. The most dangerous thing you can do to a woman isn't break her heart, it's make her feel like she has to become someone else to keep you. And the reason that matters is because one of the most unspoken fantasies women carry, the one they're terrified to admit, has nothing to do with novelty, it has everything to do with relief. She fantasizes about finally being able to let go, not let go in the careless way, not in a reckless way, in a safe way, in the way where her mind stops running, her guard stops scanning, and her body stops bracing for the next emotional impact, in the way where she doesn't have to manage the moment, manage the mood, manage your ego, manage the direction of the connection, manage the whole relationship like it's a second job. Because most women are exhausted by the invisible labor of being easy to love. They learn to smooth things over. They learn to phrase their needs gently. They learn to smile when something bothers them. They learn to think 3 steps ahead. If I say this, will he get defensive? If I ask for that, will I seem needy? If I show too much emotion, will he pull away? If I act too calm, will he stop trying? And after enough time, it starts to feel like she's not in a relationship. She's in a negotiation with consequences. So the fantasy becomes sharp and private. I want a man I can relax with. I want to stop driving. I want to be held, emotionally, by someone who can handle the weight. That word, handle, is the key. Because women don't want a man who's perfect. They want a man who's steady, someone who can carry tension without punishing her for it. Someone who can lead without forcing, someone who can take initiative without taking her freedom. A lot of men hear, "I want to relax," and think it means a woman wants to be passive or taken care of like a child. No, most women are strong. Most women can handle life. That's exactly why this fantasy exists. When you're strong all day, you don't fantasize about more responsibility at night. You fantasize about a safe place to put the armor down. Here's the brutal truth. If a woman doesn't trust your emotional stability, she will never fully relax with you. She might still date you. She might still laugh. She might still be affectionate, but a part of her will stay alert. And when a woman stays alert, she can't fully open. Not emotionally, not physically, not spiritually. She's present, but not surrendered. And surrender is not something you demand. It's something you earn. You earn it with consistency, with integrity, with how you respond when she says no, with how you handle disappointment, with whether your mood depends on her, with whether you turn every boundary into a personal insult, with whether your kindness is real or a transaction. Because women learn fast. Some men are only good when they're getting what they want. So her fantasy becomes very specific. I want to be with a man who stays respectful even when he's frustrated. I want to be with a man who doesn't make me pay emotionally for having needs. That's rare, and that rarity is what makes it magnetic. Now, let's talk about what this looks like in real life, because this is where men and women both get stuck. A man will say, I want her to be more affectionate, more open, more warm, and a woman will say, I don't feel like myself lately. They'll blame stress, routine, or time. Sometimes that's true, but often the deeper cause is this. She doesn't feel safe enough to let go because she doesn't feel guided emotionally. Guided doesn't mean controlled, it means she trusts your direction. Direction is attractive because it reduces mental load. It tells her she doesn't have to orchestrate everything. It tells her you're not a passenger in your own life. It tells her you're not waiting for her to decide the mood of the relationship while you just react. This is why indecision can quietly kill desire, not because she wants a dictator, because constant indecision forces her to lead, and leading all the time makes her feel alone. So yes, this is one of the secret fantasies, being with a man who can take initiative in a way that feels clean and safe. A man who plans, a man who follows through, a man who says what he means, a man who doesn't act enthusiastic in private and distant in public, a man whose words and actions match so well she stops doubting her own perception, because nothing erodes a woman's ability to relax like mixed signals. Mixed signals don't just confuse her, they make her distrust herself. And once she distrusts herself, she becomes anxious, guarded, hyper-aware, and emotionally tired. She starts overthinking everything: his tone, his timing, his facial expression, his patterns. So the fantasy becomes the opposite of that chaos. I want a connection that feels simple in my body. I want to breathe again. And for the women listening, I'm going to say something you may not like, but you need to hear it. You can't relax into someone you keep testing. Some women crave safety, but only trust anxiety because anxiety is familiar. They poke and prod, they withhold to see if he'll chase. They create distance to see if he'll prove something. They call it protecting themselves, but it also keeps them trapped. You can't experience calm love if you only feel alive inside emotional turbulence. The same goes for men. You can't lead a relationship if you're terrified of being disliked. You can't create safety if you need constant reassurance. You can't be her calm if you're always trying to win. This fantasy, this desire to relax and let go, requires strength on both sides. From him, emotional steadiness, clear direction, self-control, respect. From her, honesty, receptivity, the courage to stop managing everything. And there's a reason women don't say this fantasy out loud, because it's easy to twist. It's easy for the wrong man to hear, I want to let go, and translate it into entitlement. It's easy for the wrong man to hear, I want you to lead, and translate it into dominance without care. But leadership without empathy is control, and control is not attractive to a healthy woman. It's triggering. Healthy leadership feels like this. You consider her, you respect her, and you still have a backbone. You can hold your frame without making her feel small. You can be decisive without being dismissive. You can take initiative without taking her voice. And when a woman finally experiences that, when she feels safe enough to relax and still feels respected, something changes in her. Her softness returns. Her playfulness returns. Her warmth returns. Not because she's performing, because she's not bracing anymore. A woman who doesn't have to brace becomes a completely different partner. So ask yourself, quietly, honestly, what emotional environment do people experience around you? Do they feel like they can exhale? Or do they feel like they have to manage you? Because the fantasy isn't about perfection. It's about peace with power, safety with direction, warmth with strength. And when you embody that, you don't have to chase chemistry. Chemistry shows up on its own. The worst loneliness isn't being single. It's lying next to someone who loves the version of you that you show them, while the real you stays completely invisible. And that quiet ache is exactly why the third fantasy lives so deep inside so many women, they almost never speak its name. She fantasizes about being wanted for the parts she spent her whole life hiding, not just the beautiful parts, not just the easy, charming, successful, agreeable version she shows the world. She wants to be craved even when she's anxious, even when she's sharp, even when she's uncertain, even when she carries the scars and contradictions that don't fit the image of the perfect woman. She wants to stop performing and still be chosen. This is the fantasy that creates the most unease because admitting it feels dangerous. Women have learned that certain emotions make them too much, too emotional, too independent, too needy, too ambitious, too sensitive, too guarded, too broken in places. So they edit themselves, they smile when they're breaking, they say, "I'm fine," when they're drowning. They become the supportive partner, the cool girlfriend, the low-maintenance wife, while quietly dying inside because no one actually sees them. And the terrifying part is this: many women don't even know if the man they love would still desire them if he saw the entire picture. So they test, they pull away, they get distant, they become moody without explanation. Not because they want to play games, but because they're waiting to see if he will stay when the mask slips. Most men never notice the test. They see the withdrawal and either chase desperately or pull away themselves. Both responses confirm her deepest fear, that love is conditional on her performance. This is where female psychology becomes painfully sharp. A woman can forgive almost anything except the feeling that she has to earn continued desire by staying small, agreeable, or convenient. When she senses that your affection depends on her keeping things light and simple, something inside her begins to shut down. She may stay in the relationship, but the emotional door closes. And once that door closes, real intimacy becomes impossible. The hidden craving is simple yet profound. She wants to be fully known and still fiercely wanted. Not fixed, not judged, not tolerated, wanted. With the same heat and focus as in the beginning, but now directed at the real her, not the representative. This is why some women stay attracted to men who are emotionally challenging. It's not because they enjoy pain, it's because those men often see through the performance. They don't flinch at the darkness. They don't run when the contradictions appear. That steadiness in the face of her full truth feels like the ultimate acceptance, and acceptance is the soil where deep desire grows. Men who only love the polished version create a special kind of heartbreak. She becomes exhausted from carrying the weight of her own complexity alone. She starts to believe that love always requires self-abandonment, and that belief slowly poisons her ability to trust anyone, including herself. The mentor truth here is this: real intimacy requires the courage to see someone completely and still choose them without trying to reshape them into something easier. Most people fail at this because seeing the full truth of another person forces you to face the full truth of yourself. It requires emotional maturity most never develop. If you're a man watching this, understand that your ability to hold space for her complexity without losing your center is one of the most attractive qualities you can possess. Not by becoming her therapist, not by walking on eggshells, by remaining grounded when she shows you the parts that aren't pretty, by staying respectful when she's difficult, by keeping your desire alive even when she's uncertain. That combination creates an emotional environment where she can finally exhale, where she can stop performing, where she can bring the full weight of who she is into the relationship without fear that it will break everything. And if you're a woman listening, this fantasy is also a warning. If you keep hiding your real self to keep the peace, you are training the relationship to love a stranger. You are ensuring that even if he stays, the real you will always feel alone. The bravest thing you can do is slowly reveal the truth and watch whether he has the strength to stay and still see you as desirable. This hidden desire explains why so many relationships that look perfect on the outside feel empty on the inside. Everything is polite, everything is stable. But the real woman was never truly invited in. She was never fully seen. And being loved without being seen eventually feels worse than not being loved at all. The women who finally experience this fantasy, the ones who find a man capable of seeing the darkness and the light and still choosing her with certainty, describe the same feeling. They feel home, not the fragile, anxious version of home, the deep-rooted, I can finally breathe version of home. That feeling is addictive because it's so rare. In a world that rewards performance and punishes honesty, being wanted exactly as you are becomes one of the most powerful psychological experiences a woman can have. This is why the fantasy stays secret, because saying it out loud risks everything. It risks being judged as needy, it risks being told she's too complicated, it risks losing the love she already has, so she keeps it buried beneath layers of "I'm fine" and "it's not a big deal." But her nervous system never lies. When she feels truly seen and still desired, her entire energy changes. She becomes softer without trying, more present, more alive, more open to real connection on every level. The question this leaves you with is uncomfortable but necessary. Are you loving the representative version of the person in your life? Or are you brave enough to see the real one and still choose them every single day? There's a moment a woman will never forget, and she might never admit it even to herself, the moment she realizes a man wants her, but he doesn't need her to lose control. That's the fourth fantasy, quiet, intense, and strangely rare in a world where everyone is trying to prove something. She fantasizes about being desired by a disciplined man, not a man who's cold, not a man who's distant, a man who feels desire fully and still stays in command of himself. Because to a healthy woman, self-control isn't the absence of passion, it's proof of strength. It's proof that if she gives you access to her life, her heart, her private world, you won't become reckless with it. You won't become entitled. You won't become careless just because you're in. This is why a lot of women pull away right after a man finally gets them. They don't pull away because they didn't want him. They pull away because the energy changes, the respect changes, the restraint disappears, the attention becomes lazy, the mystery becomes consumption. Some men think intimacy is a finish line. Like once you're close, you can stop being intentional. You can stop being sharp. You can stop courting. You can stop showing emotional leadership. And women feel that shift like a temperature drop. A disciplined man doesn't do that. He doesn't confuse access with ownership. He doesn't act like, now you're mine so I can relax. He acts like, I chose you, so I will protect what we're building. That protection isn't control. It's consistency. It's the way he speaks when he's upset. It's the way he handles attention from other people. It's the way he keeps his word when nobody's watching. It's the way he treats her boundaries like they matter even when he's frustrated. And here's the part that people don't like to admit. For many women, being desired by a man with no self-control feels unsafe, even if he's nice. Because if he can't govern himself, she knows she'll eventually have to. She'll have to manage his moods, manage his jealousy, manage his impulses, manage his insecurity, manage his need for constant reassurance, manage the emotional cleanup after every conflict, so her private fantasy becomes the opposite. I want a man whose desire for me doesn't turn him into someone I have to babysit. That's shocking because a lot of men believe desire is proven by intensity. More messages, more chasing, more pushing, more urgency. But healthy female desire often responds to something quieter and stronger: containment. Containment means you can hold heat without burning the house down. It means you can want her and still respect her pace. You can feel tension and still speak with dignity. You can feel jealousy and still choose trust. You can feel anger and still stay fair. You can feel attraction and still be a gentleman. And when a woman senses that kind of control, something in her relaxes and awakens at the same time. Because she's not just reacting to what you want, she's reacting to what you are. Now let's take it one level deeper, because this is where the fantasy becomes almost spiritual. Many women fantasize about being claimed emotionally without being possessed. That means she wants to feel like you're proud of her, not hiding her. She wants to feel like you're serious, not vague. She wants to feel like she's not competing with your options, your ex, your phone, your attention span. Not because she wants to lock you in a cage, because she wants the kind of commitment that creates nervous system safety, the kind of loyalty that makes her stop scanning for exits. And this is why the disciplined man is so powerful. He doesn't perform loyalty. He embodies it. He doesn't flirt to feel valuable. He doesn't keep people on standby to avoid vulnerability. He doesn't threaten the relationship every time conflict shows up. He doesn't treat attention like oxygen. He's not loyal because he's scared to lose her. He's loyal because he respects himself. And that's the fantasy women rarely say out loud because it sounds politically incorrect in modern dating culture. She wants to be the woman a strong man chooses on purpose, even when he has other opportunities. Not because she needs to feel superior, because being chosen like that communicates something deeper than romance. It communicates worth. It tells her, you are not a convenience. You are a decision. Now, Here's the mentor truth that makes this usable for you, whether you're a man or a woman. If you're a man, your discipline is part of your attractiveness, not fake stoicism. Discipline, the ability to desire without acting desperate, the ability to be affectionate without being dependent, the ability to be committed without being controlling, the ability to say no to what would damage your integrity, even if it feels good in the moment. A lot of men think women want the man who can't help himself. Many women actually want the man who can help himself and chooses them anyway. If you're a woman, pay attention to what you reward. If you reward impulsiveness, inconsistency, and emotional fireworks, you train yourself to confuse anxiety with chemistry. If you reward steadiness, boundaries, and respect, you train your nervous system to recognize healthy desire when it arrives. Because these fantasies aren't naughty secrets, they're signals. They reveal what your nervous system associates with love. And when you put all four together, you get the real blueprint many people never learn. She wants certainty without pressure. She wants to relax without carrying the emotional load. She wants to be fully seen without being judged. She wants to be desired with discipline and respect. That's what creates devotion. Not tricks, not tactics, not manipulation. Devotion. Now here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. Honestly, personally, no performance. Which one have you been craving the most lately? Being chosen with certainty, being able to finally relax, being fully seen, or being desired with real respect? And what has your past taught you to settle for instead? If this hit you, like the video, subscribe for more on male and female psychology, and share it with a friend who keeps repeating the same relationship pattern and can't figure out why.